Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to ReThink. Let's see, how do we get out of here? We hit escape? Yeah. So, we made it to puzzle 21. They're taking longer, and in the last recording it seems like we actually found a solution that was unexpected, that took considerably fewer elements to solve. I'm noticing down the hall here, it looks like there's a person. At puzzle 21, it looks like there's something here. Oh, I guess it's maybe just a different transmitter or receiver. At puzzle 21, I would start to question if this whole thing isn't really a scam, and that they're just wasting your time having you jump through hoops solving these puzzles. Certainly I could see losing motivation. Here we have one of these lanterns actually being involved in the puzzle for the first time. Right, well, first thing to do, I suppose, is just activate the three-way split and see how this goes. Now, I was calling this a 30-degree split just because of the logo on it, but fairly obviously we are not breaking the 45-degree limitations, so a three-way split just goes forward, 45 degrees to the left, 45 degrees to the right. Good to know. So, since this one is transmitting from two sides in this direction, let's see if this makes any sense. Might make some sense. Now, there might be an argument now to just use a splitter to shoot back to itself, but I suspect that is not what they want us to do straight out of the bag. Would make more sense to have something like that happen in 3 or 4 puzzles. Well, if that goes, if this is supposed to go this direction, and then that goes diagonally, it just stops there, and then this one combines and makes the turquoise we need. I'd say this turquoise on the color palette is a little light. Yellow is kind of orangish also. Green is even a little pale. It's not a pure green or pure yellow or pure blue or pure turquoise. Combining blue and green. It's probably not the right one. Let's see what happens if we take the three-way splitter and put it here. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense either. Unless we're just not using one side of this. So it's just going to come down to reusing the three-way splitter as many times as possible in as many places as possible until you find either that you don't need it exactly at all to split 3 ways, or until you find the right spot, which I think we've found the right spot now. Okay. Then it will just be a question about hitting that in the right direction. And hitting that in the right direction. And I believe we've got it. So you have your starting transmitter, green on this side, blue on this side. Sending the green way around, curving around until you're in the right position to split it. Sending it that way, and then splitting it this way. Meanwhile, the blue merges with the green from this spot. So that wasn't particularly that long of a puzzle. Now that we're closer, we can see that this was a turquoise with a red transmitter behind it, but if we turn around, the red gives this kind of, well, if I can line it up correctly, it gives this kind of orangish look. And from this distance, I was thinking it was just somebody in like a radiation orange suit standing there. A in the distance, maybe short character. Which I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind some scribblings on the walls. I wouldn't mind anything that added any story at all. Scrap books of paper. As much as it's fairly easy to complain about games like The Witcher having books, or Skyrim having books to read to fill out the gameplay and potentially have the bibliophiles amongst the players more satisfied. It works. It works really well to have a little bit of story writing pop up here and there. I have no idea what I'm even supposed to do on this. Let's see. If I get this here, it's just going to hit the wall and not hit that. So there's no way that this should be anything other than that. That if this is being used at all and blue is being used at all, there's not any other thing it can do than go in this direction. This may be wrong. Certainly. There's quite a lot of stuff going on here. Quite a lot. There's definitely just a lot of opportunity to do the wrong thing. There's definitely no getting around that idea. Unfortunately, now, it does feel like I am just solving these puzzles a little too quickly by more brute force than logical effort. I think you run into problems because the rooms are too big. I think you run into problems because there's far too many elements, hiding the fact that all the elements are pretty much the same. You just have straight splitters, two-way splitters, three-way splitters, and then eventually we'll unlock the chroma splitters, and that might change things a little bit. But there's no pools of acid like Portal 1 to avoid. There's no running and jumping maneuvers. It's not really 3D platforming, even though you're in a 3D environment, which, when you start to think of it, highlights the lack of need of having a 3D environment so far in the game. This could have easily just been a top-down laser game. It wouldn't have sold as well. It wouldn't have gotten greenlit on Steam if it looked like that. Clearly this is an example of a game that was greenlit on Steam based on the screenshots, and inherently that is a problem, I think, with Steam Greenlight system, is that it was very much based on just what was being promised and what was being shown in pre-alpha screenshot renders. If this is supposed to be a prison where you're being tested to be let out, it feels like some moral decisions to free somebody else might make some sense, and or just being able to free other people. We've got all the elements here. We've got laser fences that stop lasers from escaping, so, and we've got glass doors that we can't go through, so you could have a Unity asset flip 3D model of somebody trapped behind glass to free. And yeah, that could still happen in this game. Now what's interesting is you have this line, and usually the line indicated a split between the puzzles and potentially the reset of your items, but crossing the line here seems to do nothing. Okay. I think the first move is just to do this. And then that creates a flicker problem, which means we can solve it by bringing these up. It might make some sense to maybe try and show off the mechanism as to how these splitters pop up and how they change their shape and style. They feel very magical in their current form. Well, I think I know what we're doing here. So we're splitting things up eventually. This is a green 2 triangle lock. It needs to be hit by purple. Which does make it feel like there needs to be a different solution to begin with. That will change things later. That doesn't do anything. Green. And this we need red and yellow, or blue and yellow. All we've got is red and blue. This is green triangles here. Now there is a real problem here. If all of a sudden we find a puzzle that just can't be solved, or feels like it can't be solved, because my first instinct on that would be to just blame the creator of the game and say he did a bad job in designing the game. It would not be to assume I'm doing something wrong, or that there is some kind of storyline gimmick that is supposed to make that happen. Okay, so we swapped that. By swapping that, we did get our purples. And that brings about the green. So we didn't have to make the green, we just had to free it. Yeah, once again, I very quickly went from feeling like that there might be a storyline reason that this puzzle couldn't be solved to brute forcing it and solving it and not really thinking it through. It feels like what needs to happen is that there needs to be an encouragement of some way, I don't even know how you do that, to make the player kind of stop wandering around, stop just brute forcing attempts and tries, and just think things through from more of a, I want to say, top-down perspective, and just look at the puzzles and think about the puzzles more. Perhaps it would make sense, since you only have these laser puzzles where you have to go and push a button to run the simulation on the screen before it turns on. Of course, that would slow down the game really way too much. But I could see a case where sometimes you have to flip a switch to turn on a laser, and then maybe there's a button with a timer and the laser only stays on for like 20 seconds, and then you'd have a ticking sound. Doing that would also add an element of speed to the gameplay. Alright, well, by default, if we see that there's a green one toggling back and forth, we kind of know that we've got to use that green multiple times. And you can pretty well guess that's going to be part of it. And we can pretty well guess this is going that way, which probably means that is going that way. Although it's possible that it's going that way. It might be wise in designing a game like this to have the laser beam kind of magically stop if it is hitting, say, the edge of something that it shouldn't be hitting, or hitting a wall, so that this portion from here to here just stops and only connected points were shown. That could create a situation where you'd have just a little bit less to see. Maybe the game should be a little bit darker. I kind of don't like the inconsistency where you're fairly dark if you're looking up at the walls, but you're not doing that too much. But yeah, it being a little darker could have you focus on the laser beam lights a little bit more. Yeah, I'm not sure which one to focus on first. Let's see, we've got one there going. That makes me think that blue is probably right, which that was what I was working on, which means that we need to get a green into there. How can we get green into where we want it to go? This way. It does kind of feel like there's a little too much happening sometimes where you're just filling in every single spot. There's maybe 2 spots here where you 2-3 spots where you don't use a reflector. And the puzzles would get way too easy if there were just puzzle reflectors everywhere. But then they also get too easy if there's the exact number of spots to manipulate. So you have to balance that out. Maybe there should be 2 or 3 more puzzle reflectors. Okay. Maybe this isn't part of it. Maybe this is part of it. Green and red. Again, there's just a point here where I really like to be able to reset sometimes. Because I really don't even know if I started with a 3-way splitter in this puzzle. It would be nice to at least have some icons to say you started with these pieces. I guess I could probably load the autosave to reset, but that doesn't feel great. What would happen if we split it like that? Okay, we've got a white there. So, I question whether we need that. Okay, let's start with this white one. I do feel like my brain is quickly turning to mush here. Green split here versus green split here means red needs to go this direction. There we go. Which probably means that green needs to cycle back. In this direction. Okay. Is there... Unless we had a 3-way splitter, which I don't think we did. There's no way to get that to stay. And then there's a whole nother yellow here. That's probably not the right move. It's probably instead something like this. then how do we hit this? If that was the case. Or are we straight up supposed to hit it that way? Guess maybe we are. That doesn't work. Guess if we could get red now to this spot. Then we just need blue to do something different. So that lines up at some level. And this one's not doing anything at the moment. Red, and we need blue. Also cross. If that's what we're doing. It just doesn't cross there. Definitely seems like the move would be to do this and this. And have that one there. And have that one there. Okay. What can we do with blue? Okay, that seems right. So maybe you put a splitter here. I think I've done it. Yeah. Again, though. It just feels like I cheated it. So this toggle seemingly doesn't actually do anything other than keep this one powered and maybe converts this consistently to yellow. Otherwise it's just bouncing to this splitter. It definitely feels like I should be able to stand it in the way of the lasers. That would be a way, certainly, to have something very natural happen that would also cause the player to need to move out of the way. They don't have to hurt the player or anything. You could just make a slight notice or sound effect when you're standing in the way of the laser. Maybe a slight sizzling effect. Or maybe even a slight brightness around the edges of the screen. But by making it so a player can't just stand in the middle of the puzzle and look, that they have to actually stand out of the way of the lasers, that would slow down gameplay, make them think a little bit more. Anyways, the green comes this way, splits, and then gets shot that way to ensure that. And then the red comes directly in front and merges with the green to make it yellow. And then the yellow mostly gets split here to go down that path, or to go to this next splitter, which then gets merged with the blue to make pure white. Yep. And on to the next puzzle. Puzzle 25. And increasingly this is taking more time to solve the puzzles, and the puzzles are more complicated, but there is a real danger in puzzles being convoluted versus complicated. Convoluted is doing something simplistically over and over again. If you have to untie 1,000 knots to free a piece of string, that's not complicated, particularly if all the knots are just your standard loop over loop knot. Complicated would be untying 1,000 different knots that required 1,000 different ways to untie them, or having to do multiple actions other than just untying a knot. So I have a slight temptation that I'd like to do one more puzzle, but yeah, I guess since there is only 7 pieces, we'll try and rush here and see if we can do this. We have a red receiver, and in this we have a red transmitter, which, interesting twist on that. See, red sometimes, but not all times. And if we had the 4th chroma splitter, maybe we could do something with that idea. It's pretty obvious the piece goes here. Maybe it doesn't, though. Let's not waste it yet. Let's instead make an assumption that the piece is actually going to go here. And it's just going to bounce around. This is probably not the right move. This blue splitter probably, the turquoise splitter probably is here, which maybe means something here. If these laser beams moved very slowly, and they weren't just effectively moving at the speed of light, then that would change the physics quite a bit. Certainly, where you would have maybe the red beam taking a second to get to here, and then taking another second to get to here, and then all of a sudden you'd have puzzles where you just need it to jump through a bunch of reflectors as a way of slowing it down. Okay. Well, I got it. Almost all the way done here. Does the door open for half a second? No, I imagine there's an extra bit of buffer after a puzzle's been solved anyways. I'm just not sure what the point here is. Or seems like this is just kind of an awkward puzzle for no real reason. And then the turquoise just doesn't feel like it does anything. We only have one piece, so if we shot the turquoise down this direction, it doesn't make it red. You have this like one spot way over here in the corner. It just doesn't feel like it could do anything. It's just not leading to anything. Unless they introduce some kind of concept of invisible reflectors. This spot also just doesn't really feel like it could do anything. Might do something. But then I would need to, say, take this and send it that direction. I just don't see the value in changing the puzzle like that. Let's see what happened if I were to put this here. Okay, it's gonna hit a wall. It's gonna send the thing through. Happen if we were to do this. Might save us some movement, which might save me some pieces. Okay, so once again we've solved the puzzle with just 2 extra spare pieces. And it does just kind of feel like either we're supposed to be learning a lesson here by saying that, and here we'll cross over with 2 extra spare pieces and see that the pieces disappear and get reset for the next puzzle, and then we'll walk back and see that we get the 2 spare pieces back. I mean, the only extra challenge here would be to free the turquoise laser. Thing is that this is toggling colors, it's not toggling directions, so it is reacting differently than ones we've seen before. Yeah, I honestly just don't see a different solution here other than having extra pieces. Maybe it's something like this, where you're supposed to get the blinking. Notice how it kind of burns out the fuse on the flickering. I just don't see an extra need. Split it that direction. They can't do anything. Split that direction. They can't do anything. Split that direction. See, I imagine what I'm supposed to be doing here. And I may struggle to actually solve this again. Is that I'm supposed to take this, somehow feed it back into this spot. Let's see. If I did that and then rotated this so it goes that direction, still doesn't really do anything. I'd have to merge some things. Yeah. So this was the expected solution, I guess. And twice now we've just found unexpected solutions. Which, it shouldn't be that easy, frankly, to find a secondary solution to these puzzles. It just feels like this is an indie game made by very possibly only one person. And as such, there's just not that much testing going on. And yeah, even at that, I still have one extra piece. So I literally cannot find what is the intended solution for this. Unless it's just designed to maybe not make that blink. But who cares if that blinks or not, because it doesn't affect anything. The toggle between this being on and this being on. It still doesn't really feel like there's a way to split it out, though, and make this shielded section be down forever. So you could do prettiness there. And put an item there, but I don't think that's needed. Yeah. You definitely aren't going to use this spot. And the fact that I only have one extra piece at this time, I think probably just confuses the issue. Like for prettiness, you could have it also there. But I don't think you'd put it there. I don't think you get anything by putting it there. So yeah, it feels like I've solved that puzzle now 3 different ways and not gotten an achievement, so unless it is just keeping a tally internally, I imagine there isn't an achievement for solving puzzles different ways or with extra pieces, which you could easily have tested for that and given an achievement. This is an old enough game, it's worth mentioning, that where achievements on Steam led towards getting booster packs on Steam at a high enough level that people actually cared about that. Getting booster packs for certain games might lead to trading the trading cards in booster packs towards actual Steam marketplace real world money. And so there was a thought, I'm not sure if it ever actually was true, where if you found the right game and you could get easy achievements, you might get booster packs and you might get real world money. And for somebody with more time than sense, that may have been an interesting concept that people would have engaged with. On top of that, certainly, there are still, even now, a lot of games that will just give you really easy achievements, which you can then highlight if you get all the achievements in a game on your profile page on Steam. Not that anybody ever looks at people's profile pages on Steam. One thing that is weird, though, is I'm looking at the animated video of ReThink, and there is just a lot of stuff that I have not seen yet. And so I am wondering if we aren't anywhere close to the end, or if perhaps the creator uploaded a video of like ReThink 2 or ReThink Evolved on accident on the ReThink Steam store page. Regardless, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.